Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. Your host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest, former NWA World Champion, ECW World Champion, wrestling legend. You know him as Raven. Raven, welcome in. How you doing?
How you doing?
Doing very good. Tell us about what's going on with your new documentary coming out. You got a bunch of shows lined up. This sounds like, first of all, a good doc, but awesome you're doing these screenings.
Yeah. Okay. So the documentary is we're gonna eventually, I think, in sometime in the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, beginning of the new year, we're gonna release it on streaming and whatnot. But they wanted to release this in some screenings, some sneak peek screenings first to get the word out on it, I guess.
Love that because you got
And it's a documentary based on my career in life, based on me. So it's but I wanted to show it warts and all. So I mean, so you can see all the negative parts of my life, and as well as the positive.
I love that. And obviously, you got some big shows you got coming up in Boston and in Philly. So, I mean, you're hitting the big towns. You're hitting the big spots with some of the first shows that you got lined up.
Yeah, this weekend, August 23rd, we're going to be in Boston at the Lexington venue. See my Twitter or my X social media for details.
Kowloon.
Well, Kowloon, I'm going to be at the next day. That's going to be with Dreamer and Sandman and the major podcast or whatever I forget how they call it, what they call it. But that's on the Sunday. That's the documentary is going to be aired. It's going to be screening the night before, the Saturday.
Now, how did this all come about? This documentary, like, who decided upon it? How did you kind of come to this documentary about your life?
This guy, this director who'd done documentary on Bob Probert before and Charles Manson and done really well. I think he won some kind of awards for him. He heard me on Steve Austin's podcast, and thought I'd make a fascinating subject, I guess. And so he called me up and hang on. And and so he got a hold of me and told me he wanted to make a movie, and so I said okay.
The August 23rd, the Lexington venue is going to be at in Massachusetts.
Right, it's right outside. It's in Lexington, I guess, or it's right outside Boston, like 10 minutes. And then I'll be at Kowloon's the next night for the Big Ass Bash, which is a Q&A. Which will also have a Q&A with me and Sandman and Dreamer. But on the screening of the movie will be on the 23rd at the Lexington venue, and I'll be doing a Q&A afterwards, after the screening, and I'll be doing a VIP meet and greet before the show.
Very cool, and I like that you're bringing some of your friends, if you will, some of your mortal enemies with you as well.
Oh no,
you're really awesome with the crowd.
That's a different thing. That's nothing to do with me.
Oh,
I'm just appearing as a celebrity guest. That has nothing to do with the documentary, the Kowloon thing the next day.
Oh, okay, because I noticed Philly with Meanie. You're going to be doing a little Q&A with Meanie in Philly.
Yeah, I'm in Philadelphia with a screening of 10/14 or 10/11, 10/12, 10/13. I forget. What are the dates?
10/11 and 10/12 of the Philharmonic or Philamoka, if you will.
Philamoka. Yeah, it's where they show like a lot of bands and movies and artsy stuff, and Meanie's going to interview me on the Q&A after the show. He's going to moderate it on October 11th to 12th. The 11th will be at an 8 o'clock screening, I'm sure. And the Sunday and the 12th will be a matinee screening because it's an afternoon.
Do you like going back and reliving some of this stuff? You know what I mean? Is it therapeutic at all to you? You're going back and going through?
It's painful. It's painful to reliving it. Because like I said, it has me at my positive and me at my most negative, so it's, and it's 2 hours of that all crammed in together. of highs and lows, but the lows stick out to me because the highs, like I'm always a happy guy. I'm always in a good mood, more or less, 90% of the time. But when I'm confronted with my lows, it makes me sad and it makes me, regret stuff and want to change things. And I hate those feelings. So it's, watching the documentary after he made it and, and pointing out stuff that I thought should be added or changed or edited, or clipped, or whatever. He was like, will you watch it? And I'm like, I'll get around to it. And it took me like 6 weeks or 4 weeks to get around to watching it the first time, just because I didn't want to see it, because just when I was doing the documentary, verbalizing all my stuff, all my baggage and issues and stuff, it was painful, because everybody's got toxicity in their life. Me more than a lot, not I wouldn't say more than most, but it it's rough living inside my head.
That's the Raven effect, right? I mean, just think about it. It's the Raven effect.
Sure.
This is cool though, because I think from a fan's perspective, you had such a crazy career. ECW, WCW, WWE, TNA, I mean, ROH. I mean, you've literally been everywhere and done everything. So I feel like from a fan perspective, this is awesome because I think so many people are going to want to be interested in not only you and your life and your career, but everything you've done.
Yeah. It's a lot crammed into 2 hours. I think he did a remarkable job though. The director, Jordy Day.
How many times have you seen it?
Probably 3, maybe 3 or 4, 2 to 4. And I really like it. I just don't like watching it.
I feel like with you, right, there's some points in your careers which like it really sticks out. I mean, everyone always talks about Raven and the creation of it and right. I mean, is that kind of what people talk about most in your career would be ECW or no?
Yes and no. Yeah, they talk about that. They talk about WCW. When I had the flock and we used to walk to the ring and sit at ringside. Having Goldberg's best match, first and best match. First really good match. What about also like when in ECW when they talk about like when I made good, people think the real Gordy had returned, but it was still a shell of his former self. But working with him, I pulled out of him so there's a bunch of different stuff people talk about. The Rhino match at Backlash in WWE, the hardcore title.
I feel like you do pull out the best of some guys that maybe either don't have it anymore or maybe they're green or you know what I mean? Like you can pull that out of some guys. The Goldberg thing, I feel like too many people don't mention it enough for my taking because Goldberg, if you think about it, it's subjective, of course, but like how many real great matches did he have? You know what I mean? Scott Steiner, he had a good one, DDP, but yours really sticks out.
4. 2 with me, 1 with Steiner, 1 with DDP.
I feel like maybe a lot of people don't mention that it doesn't come up, but that's just one of those things where it's like, wow, Raven is like really, especially at that point in '98, he was a year in. You know what I mean? You're really getting a lot out of him.
What's funny is when I was in TNA, Shannon Moore goes, "I loved your match with Goldberg on Thunder." I go, "No, it was on Raw." It was on Nitro. He goes, "No, the one you had with him on Thunder." I'm like, Thunder? I had one with him on Thunder? He goes, "Yeah, you had 2 matches with him." And I go, "Really? I don't even remember." And he showed me the match. I was like, "Oh, wow, I totally forgot about that." But then another weird thing is I had a match. Apparently somebody had an 8x10. They wanted me to sign of me and Brock Lesnar in the ring. And I was like, I never was in the ring with Brock Lesnar. This is like photoshopped. And apparently I was in the ring with Brock before he got big.
Wow, crazy. Is it the fact that you've had too many matches? It's like they all like jumble together?
Yeah, pretty much. They had too many drugs and too many chair shots.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess.
I definitely have some brain damage from the drugs and the chair shots.
I love those Goldberg matches because if you just listen to the crowd, they're going like absolutely insane. Especially like Sick Boy interferes or Kidman or Reese gets in there, he gets killed. I mean, they are going nuts for you and Goldberg in those matches. And then you bring out the stop sign, forget about it. They were just out of control.
It's an art form. You have to layer things. It's like, you can't just throw everything. Like that's why. Like I don't watch it anymore. I stopped watching in 2000 when they had the alliance angle and they used nobody and just squashed us. And it I always said wrestling's a cruel mistress, and she was cruel that day, that run. But I stopped watching it because I lost interest, and so I don't watch it anymore. But the problem was, in my estimation, is that people don't think. They're not clever and they're not creative. That's the problem with most workers that don't ever rise to the top.
You are always, to me, so interesting and intriguing. Even Ring of Honor, there's a point where I was like kind of very interested and intrigued with Bryan Danielson and a couple of these guys and a couple low-key couple of these guys. But I went to the show in 2003 literally because you were wrestling Punk, and I wasn't really sure who Punk was at this point. But to be honest, and we can say yes or no, subjective, whatever, I think you kind of put him on the map with that feud in Ring of Honor because he blew up after that. Do you kind of take a lot into that, and do you maybe not get enough credit for that?
No, I don't. I mean, it's a living. I mean, I wanted the bookings, and I put them over, and you got to make younger guys. When you're getting older. So, I hope I helped. I feel like maybe I helped a little bit, but but he was going to the top anyway.
What did you think of like that feud though? When you kind of look back at it, I feel like maybe we're not talking about it enough, or maybe fans aren't. But it was so good, especially early ROH.
My problem with it was Gabe just wanted me to lose, and I thought that was stupid because you can't build it as much heat as we got for the matches. We would have had so much more if I would have beat him the first couple times, and then he would have had to fight back from underneath and come back and win. But Gabe wanted it to be him winning basically every match that we fought in that time period. But I think we did get some heat when he had us pour. He allowed us to, because he's straight edge. He allowed us to pour beer down his throat, which was a big deal for him. And that got, and plus I had Dreamer turn heel and join me, so that was I think that helped a lot. That made up a lot, but still couldn't make up for the fact that he had beaten me every match we had, But
which is the opposite of you and Dreamer, because Dreamer pretty much lost to you. Although people could say, and I definitely say, he should have never beaten you, but that's a different story, maybe for a different day. But right, kind of the opposite of you and Dreamer.
Well, Dreamer thought that he should never beaten me. I should never have beaten him either. The only reason Paulie had him Dreamer win was on the last match was because he didn't think I'd ever come back. But I knew I'd be back at some point. So, but as a businessman, he has to protect the guys in his company. So that's why. But I think he'd do it differently now with hindsight.
For sure. Is Dreamer your best opponent or one of your best opponents, or who do you kind of consider some of your best opponents?
Dreamer and Sandman. And then I like working with those are the two guys because of the feud. Like we don't have to do anything and we get reactions, but it's so visceral with the two of them, the reactions we get. And then I love working with Justin Credible and Mikey Whipwreck.
Yeah, Credible. I feel like, and this is going back years, but we used to talk about him, and you said he was such an underrated kind of not only wrestler but mind for the business, and that you had such great chemistry with him.
Who's that?
Credible, Justin Credible.
Oh yeah, Justin Credible's yeah. He had problems in self-worth issues, like so did I, but did. But he would let it interfere with his career, you know what I mean? Like no, he's so talented.
With WWE, do you think that they should have done more with you when they brought you in 2001? I know they kind of, hardcore champion a million times, but do you think they should have done more with you then?
Of course, I think they should. I think I should have been a world champion, but, but that, so does everybody think that, you know what I mean?
Was there ever going to be that Undertaker feud? It seems like something was kind of teased
No,
there for a bit. Or was
no,
that never in the cards?
never in the cards.
That would have been great. You and Taker, just character-wise, you guys would have meshed well together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, I'm kind of curious. TNA, NWA TNA, obviously you were a world champion. Were you supposed to be champion for longer? And I've almost felt like they should have pulled the trigger earlier on you winning the NWA World Heavyweight title versus Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, that's all. That's all politics.
So it was supposed to be a longer run.
No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Who knows what it was? Yeah, I think it should have been, but I mean, that's me. I'm biased.
What about, just curious, like guys you worked at, guys that I love that you work great at. What about DDP? What are your thoughts on Diamond Dallas Page?
Love working with DDP. We had great matches too, I think. Um, yeah, I feel like he's one of my favorite opponents too. Now that I think about it.
Do you think that he might take too much credit for the Raven character? Do you think he's trying to take credit?
Yeah, I think he takes too much credit for it, but he gave me the germ of the idea. He's the one who said he saw the way I looked like when I was working in the office in WWE, and they made me wear a suit and tie, and then I changed into my leather jacket and ripped up clothes, jeans, and Doc Marten boots, and he saw me the way, and I grew my hair out because everybody had mullets back then, and I'd grown my hair out and got tattooed. And he's like, he goes, "You remind me of those red hot chili pepper dudes from the movie Point Break." And he's like, "You ought to do something like that." I was like, "All right, that's an interesting take." And then I took all my internal baggage and I threw it inside of it and came up with the Raven. So I came up with the look, the promos, everything. So he really doesn't. He pointed me in the right direction, which is still a big step. You know what I mean? He pointed me in the direction and said, "Look, there's the direction. Go there." And I was like, "All right, I can go there." And I go, "Now I got to create I got to create this." But so I did all the creation. He pointed me, but
Do you think Raven is more like the ECW Raven as far as you yourself, like the character, or more the WCW version? What do you think more is like in the true essence of Raven?
Yeah, I think the true essence of Raven. Well, I don't know. I think it grows. I think he changes. Just like me, just like any person. So I think it was just. I think. I think I maintained true to the character as truthfully as I could. Um, and I like all versions of him.
I like the WCW version even better because it was almost like, okay, he's kind of like this rich guy, right? But he was like demented. There's something wrong with him. And he has all these weird friends like Canyon and even Hack, Sandman is like, for some reason, I always thought that was more interesting and more like layered character because it was like, wait, he's not like a poor guy. He's actually some rich guy who's crazy. It like, I don't know. For some reason, I like the WCW version better. I thought he was like, you had more layered character to you.
Cool.
What did you think of that, like the WCW version
I
of
didn't
them
like the idea
adding
at
that?
first. I didn't like that idea when Bischoff proposed it, but I had no other option. I had no choice but to do it because he's the boss. And it got over, but I would have rather not have done it. Like it. I think Raven was always going to come from money. I think he was always going to come from money. I think people just didn't know it. Like he was in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps. I never used that as part of the character. Although looking back, I think there's parts of it I could have put it in, but I had to be careful. See, when I first created the character, I had to overcome the albatross of Johnny Polo. You know,
Yep.
so I couldn't do anything like the rich kid wouldn't have played. Anything that would have been reminded you of Johnny Polo would have worked against me. So I had to be really careful. There's a tightrope I walked, and then probably by the time I was in WCW, WWE, I probably could have told about put the Marine Corps. Raven was in the Marine Corps, but Raven was rich, but he wasn't that rich. You know what I mean? Like Raven, and Raven, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it. I think I did a good job with it with the WCW edition, but I don't think people remember it for that. I think they remember it for the showing up at ringside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I got
Yeah.
you. I just thought it was cool, like to throw that in there. I was like, wow, he's like, because they're like giving you like backstage vignettes. They're giving you vignettes at your house. I like when they go outside the arena and do cool stuff like that. It's like it makes it totally different.
Well, we did a bunch of cool vignettes too, as well. When
Yeah.
like a little bit after I came in, were like the classroom type videos we had done in ECW, which I really enjoyed those. I really liked those a lot. We did like 4 of them.
Do you have a favorite flock member, like as far as WCW is concerned? Because I always thought that it was such an eclectic group of guys. Maybe not Van Hammer. I don't know if he fit, but all the other guys seem to fit pretty well.
Yeah, I didn't get a choice with most of the guys. The only one I got to choose, the only 2 I got to choose on my own were Sick Boy and Lodi. Um, and everybody else was given to me, but not that I regret having them, but I had a slightly different view of my flock than they did. You know, they wanted to recycle guys. I didn't want any. I wanted all guys that were like power plant guys you'd never seen before, because I wanted it to be all. I wanted to be like really original looking. So nobody was a retread. I didn't want any retreads. I
Yep.
mean, but having Kidman there was great. Turns out, he's phenomenal. Um, Riggs. Um, who else? Horace Hogan,
Ron Reese.
Ron Reese. You know, the Ron Reese was great because he carried Kidman. Kidman rode his shoulders out to the ring, which was pretty cool. The visual. Him sitting on his shoulders.
Yep.
But I would have picked nothing against the guys I had. I really like those guys, and I'm glad I had them. But if I would have had the ability to pick, I would have picked all guys that nobody had ever heard of.
Just love that. And you're almost like one of those very few guys you could see like being like a cult leader, not in a bad way, but I mean like people would follow you and listen to you, like a Jake the Snake type.
Bad way. There's nothing but bad way.
But like if Jake the Snake, like I'd be like, I'm following this guy. I'm listening, like that kind of guy. Like you, there's some like charisma about it, where like you're gonna follow this guy. Not a lot of guys could be a leader of a group.
But that's always it always leads to bad things.
Yeah, yeah. Not many guys could pull that off. The Ravens flock, I know, I loved it, and I loved your the whole character in WCW was great. Even feuding with Chris Benoit, I loved that. I thought those matches were awesome. I just loved that feud.
Yeah, thank you, man. That means a lot.
Now, as we start to hit the wind down here, start to hit the finish, got to mention, obviously, you got the shows coming up August 23rd in Lexington, MA at the venue. You got 24th at Kowloon. You've got the October 11th and 12th at Phil Mocha in Philly, the 11th and 12th with Blue Meanie screening and Q&A as well. Just give us one last push for the Raven Effect, the documentary, if you will.
Documentary, Nevermore, the Raven Effect. See the documentary. It's really fascinating. It goes in pretty in depth into my baggage in life and my career. And if you like wrestling, you'll love this. I can honestly say that.
Nevermore.
I would money back guarantee, except it's not. I'm not the promoter of it, so I can't. but I would be more than 90% positive that I could do that and not lose any money.
Nevermore, the Raven Effect. Good stuff. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. I'm just curious, is there any, I know you're a huge TV buff. Is there any shows out there that we should be watching that we're not watching?
Yeah, there's a lot, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
How about Dexter? The new Dexter.
I got a bunch of stuff I got to do today that I'm thinking about. And
the new Dexter, maybe.
No, I don't want. I watched Dexter the first couple of years of it, but then I drifted away because there's too many other shows I was watching.
Now, where could everybody find you on social media?
You can find me on X at the Raven Effect on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. And that's pretty much it. That's all I really do. And I don't even do that very much, but you can see the trailers, you can see the movie trailer, you can see the dates for the tour on there, for the screenings, and all the information, like how to get tickets and whatnot. So,
And the Raven Effect podcast as well, right? I mean, with our buddy Joe Feeney.
Tune into the Raven Effect podcast. Yeah. We
Gotta
don't talk
mention
about
Joe
wrestling.
Feeney.
We talk about anything but wrestling. So just be warned. But it's ridiculous, nonsensical banter that among a bunch of friends that just ridiculous.
Now, Raven, before we let you go, one final question I have to ask, because you won't remember this possibly, but it had to be like 2017-ish. I brought you in for an autograph signing at the ECW arena. We were with Joey Styles that day, and my friend had a beer, right? And he sat it down at your table, and you said, "Don't sit the beer on my table." And then you said you've seen it a million times, it's going to knock over. And he started arguing with you that it was fine, that he's not a drunk, he's not an idiot, he's not going to knock over the beer. But what do you think, though? Should he really do that on the merch table? Isn't that the wrong thing?
No,
Anybody
one should put an empty, an open container on a merch table, because it's going to get knocked over. I've had guys say that and then knock it over, you know. So
he claims you were in the wrong.
Let him do it. You know, anybody that wants to argue about that is ridiculous. They just put it on the ground like a gentleman.
To this day, he still brings it up to me. He says that, "Oh, Raven, I can't believe Raven told me to take the beer off the table." I'm like, yeah, what if somebody knocked into the table by accident, you know?
Yeah, they don't get it. Until you've had all your 8x10 soaked and ruined, you don't get it. Not that it's a big expense for us to replace them, but it's a pain in the ass,
Yeah, I just feel like the common courtesy here. I mean, like maybe you might not knock it over. Somebody else might knock it over by accident. Stupid.
Yeah. Even I might knock it over because I'm not used to it being there. Or somebody, he puts a belt down to get it signed, and the arm of the belt goes, whoop, knocks it over. He knocks it over with his hand. I've had it happen too many times. I've had it happen once to me and seen it happen too many times to other people.
Totally agree. I'm glad I finally got to ask you, because it's been years, and I'm like, dude, he's like, you're totally in the wrong, and he was right, and he still like cries about it. It's crazy.
He's a bitch.
I agree. Well, Raven and the Raven Effect, Nevermore, the documentary, check it out. Obviously, check out the Raven Effect on X for more information. August 23rd at Lexington, August 24th, Kowloon, and then October 11th and 12th, Phil Mocha, Q&A screenings and more.
Chicago at
and Chicago
29th.
So you got so much coming up. Raven, good luck.
It's Logan Theater in Chicago.
Oh, Logan Theater. Okay. Logan Theater in Chicago. Check out all the information at the Raven Effect on X. Everybody should get out there and see Raven, one of the all-time greats. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the time.
Thanks, man. Good talking to you.